Do you think Oprah betrayed Michael?
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And I feel like she betrayed not just him, but my family. After he passed, she asked to do an interview with my cousins, Paris, Prince, and Blanket. So my grandmother invited Oprah over to Havenhurst, to my grandmother's house. And they had a sit down. My grandmother otherwise would not have allowed Paris, Prince, and Blanket to do an interview.
Oprah Winfrey conducted an audience debate on the subject. Although the television personality never expressed an opinion on the singer's innocence, she was visibly disturbed by Jackson's warped perception of what is appropriate between a grown man and a child.
When that girl was talking about Oprah Winfrey to Harvey, can you imagine what it's like to work with Oprah Winfrey if you study what Oprah Winfrey has done and said?
So here's a man that was found not guilty in the eyes of the law. In the eyes of the law. And you wait for 10 years after this man is deceased to now do an interview with people that said they lied.
What you did to Monique, Oprah, was terrible. But what you did to the legacy of Michael Jackson was 10 times worse.
Michael Jackson's family is coming for Oprah again, and this time they're not holding back. New updates just dropped in the ongoing legal drama with Michael's accuser, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, and now MJ's estate is heading back to trial. But the Jackson family is saying none of this would be happening if Oprah hadn't given these two men a platform in the first place. They're now calling out Oprah for being a huge hypocrite, especially since she was quick to throw Michael under the bus, but stayed completely silent on her friend Harvey Weinstein and his victims. Meanwhile, new info has surfaced recently that backs up Michael's innocence even more. The timelines don't add up. The lawsuits are full of holes, and yet somehow Robson and Safechuck are still being taken seriously. So is it all because Oprah helped make that happen? What exactly did MJ's family say about Oprah conspiring with Michael's accusers? Let's get into it.
So I think this is hitting them very hard. It's hitting them like a brick wall. And it's hard to digest, you know? And they knew Wade and his family. So, you know, that makes it even more difficult. When you know somebody and you know what their motives are and the way that they behave, it makes you even more sick.
Believe it or not, Michael Jackson's accusers, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, are still trying to go after his estate. And now they're back in court over the same old claims they've been pushing for years. At first, Robson and Safechuck filed their lawsuits separately, but now they've teamed up and combined their cases, claiming they still haven't gotten any justice. They're taking MJ's estate to court again, and the trial is officially set for May 2026. But MJ's family is not staying quiet, and they're pointing out that Robson and Safechuck's stories are full of holes. See, both of these men defended Michael for years. Robson even testified under oath twice, in 1993 and in 2005, that Michael never did anything wrong to him.
This is a transcript of your testimony from the 2005 criminal trial, correct?
It appears to be that way.
On line 18, you're asked, Mr. Robson, did Michael Jackson ever touch you at any time? And you said, absolutely not, correct?
Correct.
On line 21, you're asked, Mr. Robson, did Michael Jackson ever touch you in a sexual way? And you responded, never, no, correct?
Correct.
As for Safechuck, he didn't accuse Michael of anything until 2013, 4 years after MJ passed away. That's when both he and Robson suddenly came forward with their claims. And the timing was super sketchy because that same year, Robson was turned down for a job to choreograph a Michael Jackson-themed Cirque du Soleil show, a job that he said he begged for. But if you ask MJ's family, Robson and Safechuck wouldn't have gotten this bold if it wasn't for one person, Oprah Winfrey. Right after the HBO documentary Leaving Neverland premiered in 2019, Oprah hosted a special called After Neverland, where she interviewed Robson and Safechuck and basically backed up their stories.
And I know people all over the world are going to be in an uproar and debating whether or not Michael Jackson did these things or not, whether these two men are lying or not lying. But for me, this moment transcends Michael Jackson. It is much bigger than any one person. This is a moment in time that allows us to see this societal corruption. It's like a scourge on humanity. And it's happening right now. It's happening in families. We know it's happening in churches and in schools and sports teams everywhere. So if it gets you, our audience, to see how it happens, then some good would have come of it. Child even the word lacks accuracy. I've been saying this for years and years and years, that it's confusing, the word you say, because as you just saw in Leaving Neverland, that as young boys, these two men did not feel until much later on in life. And when you are a child, this is the message I want every parent to hear, you don't have the language to explain what is happening to you.
But to Michael's family, that felt like a total backstab. See, Oprah had always praised MJ during his life, and she even called Neverland a spiritual place. So for her to flip like that, the family saw it as fake and hypocritical.
None of us in this room were there at the time that these allegations were made. So how can you say what they're saying are lies?
No, we weren't there, and nobody was there, but the facts are a public record. I mean, would he testify under oath, all the different things that he said? Those are the facts.
Wade and James both say, Wade in particular has admitted, yes, I lied on the stand. Yes, I lied under oath. Yes, I lied to my parents. Yes, I lied to everyone I cared about because I wanted to protect Michael. He did not want to be the one, in his words, that harmed Michael Jackson. Do you not believe him when he says that?
I do not believe him when he says that because we know our brother. Michael wouldn't do anything like that. And then he waits until after the passing of Michael, 10 years later, to come out and state this. And they're still in court with the estate, suing them for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Michael's not here to defend himself.
So you think the only reason they're doing it is because Michael is no longer here? And you don't buy that they wanted to protect him and that's why they lied?
No, Wade's never protected anyone in his life.
In a recently resurfaced interview, MJ's niece, Brandy Jackson, also called out Oprah for betraying the Jackson family and using Michael's name to get ratings and attention. Brandy even described this betrayal as political, hinting that Oprah and probably some other elites in Hollywood had a vested interest in destroying MJ's reputation.
Do you think Oprah betrayed Michael?
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And I feel like she betrayed not just him, but my family. After he passed, she asked to do an interview with my cousins, Paris, Prince, and Blanket. So my grandmother invited Oprah over to Havenhurst, to my grandmother's house. And they had a sit down. My grandmother otherwise would not have allowed Paris, Prince, and Blanket to do an interview. But because Oprah was being so sincere, she allowed it. And so I feel like we've let her in so many times. And this is how she repays it.
And built trust. I mean, because again, the Jackson family doesn't just let anybody in off the street.
Right.
What would you think Oprah has to gain from supporting a documentary like that?
Honestly, I think this is way more political than people realize. I can't speak for specifically what she's got to gain. I mean, I have my suspicions and my theories, but I think that this whole thing is a move to tear Michael down. And she took the necessary steps to do it, and immediate steps. As soon as we knew that documentary was coming out, that interview was lined up with Wade and James.
But why would she
follow-up?
Why would she personally want to take Michael?
Well, I was thinking, well, I mean, we don't know relationships at the top, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know if somebody from HBO made a phone call. That's really how the industry works. But what I found interesting is that when the documentary is coming, then the $100 million lawsuit comes, and then you bring Oprah out to normalize everything. I mean, I don't know, just strategically, it just looks weird.
Yeah. And then the post that they put on Oprah magazine, it's time to say goodbye. Like, you're setting the precedent of what you want people to think.
And here's another sketchy part. Leaving Neverland premiered in 2019, just as big scandals were starting to take over Hollywood, including the one involving Harvey Weinstein. Leaving Neverland premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in January 2019. But guess what? Another important project premiered that same week at Sundance, the British documentary Untouchable about Weinstein's crimes.
When I tried to tell people, they said, you better keep your mouth shut. Well, I saw a lot about how the machine works in terms of burying scandals and settlements. Nobody was ever going to win against this guy.
I was hearing stories which you could dismiss as rumor.
I was being told these women are crazy.
You have to do something.
Why yesterday you touched my breast?
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Just come on, I'm used to that.
But instead of everyone talking about Harvey, Leaving Neverland got all the attention. And you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to see how this looks like a well-timed media distraction. And then on top of that, around this time, Oprah also quietly pulled out of producing a documentary about allegations against Russell Simmons. She claimed it was because of creative differences. However, many speculated it was her way of protecting herself and her powerful friends. So when Oprah gave Michael Jackson's Accusers a big platform to tell their stories, a lot of people, especially the Jackson family, felt like it was a distraction. Instead of calling out actual living living predators she personally knew, Oprah focused all the attention on a black man who'd already been found not guilty in court and wasn't even alive to defend himself. That's when the Jacksons really started speaking out, and MJ's nephew Taj called out Oprah for constantly using the Jackson name to boost her ratings.
I mean, I have my own thoughts about it because, I mean, Oprah was also the one that, you know, when my uncle passed, she wanted the exclusive interview with my grandma and the kids. And I was there and she was talking about how Michael was misrepresented. You know, no one understood Michael and we were trying to get the real Michael. So I think, in a sense, Oprah will say what Oprah wants to say to get the interview, you know, and she's done that to our family many times. And so we have a different view of Oprah than everyone else.
Brandy Jackson also slammed Oprah for not even fact-checking the documentary before backing it. And Taj said Oprah basically blessed Leaving Neverland, giving it way more credibility than it deserved before people even had the chance to think for themselves. And then Taj said what a lot of people were already thinking. If Oprah actually cared about exposing predators in Hollywood, why didn't she start with Harvey Weinstein, someone she was close to for over 20 years?
And like you said, you know, she didn't even give 1 second to see the other side of it. As soon as that documentary was announced that it was going to be aired, it was followed up with Oprah's interview.
Yeah.
So we knew that that interview was going to be happening with Oprah before we even saw the film.
Yeah. She blessed it, basically said, this is the truth and you guys run with it. And it's just been frustrating for us, especially since there's plenty of people that Oprah knows that she could have done a special on, you know. Someone very big right now that's in the news that no one's talking about, that she's friends with, you know, Mr. Harvey Weinstein. And, you know, I feel that this is a bunch of smoke and mirrors in a way.
Meanwhile, many celebrities actually stood up for Michael, including Corey Feldman and Aaron Carter, who both knew Michael when they were kids. And if you know anything about Corey, you know he's always been outspoken about the issue of predators in Hollywood, and he's even named some of the people involved before. But when Leaving Neverland came out, Corey wasn't buying it, and he called the doc one-sided. As for Aaron Carter, before he passed, he also spoke up and said MJ's accusers were full of crap. And then Home Alone star Macaulay Culkin, who also knew Michael since he was a kid, said he never saw anything weird or inappropriate, and he made it clear that if something had ever happened, he wouldn't have stayed quiet. I'd have no reason to hold anything back, Macaulay said, and if I had something to speak up about, I would totally do it. But no, I never saw anything. He never did anything. Meanwhile, Michael's biographer, Mike Smallcombe, stepped in and pointed out a bunch of major mistakes in Leaving Neverland. One big one was James Safechuck claiming Michael did something to him at the Neverland train station when he was around 10, claiming it took place between 1988 and 1992. However, that train station wasn't even built until 1994. Michael's former head of security, Bill Whitfield, also called out Robson and Safechuck and said as soon as he heard them talk about certain dates, he knew they were lying because their stories didn't match up with when they actually visited Neverland. But maybe the most important thing of all is the fact that the FBI investigated Michael for nearly 15 years. They raided Neverland multiple times, took his electronics, dug through everything, and they never found a single piece of evidence that he did anything wrong. But Oprah didn't seem to care about any of those facts, and she actually doubled down, claiming the reason she did the Leaving Neverland special was to highlight the pattern predators use.
But imagine had that happened now. Imagine if that had happened now, right? And you had social media. So I had a lot of hateration. But I also, when I first saw that documentary, I realized that a lot of people are going to get triggered, are going to be triggered by watching it. Yes. And that a lot of people will not understand what the pattern is, because I had done 217 shows trying to get people to understand that it's not about one person, that it is about the pattern, it is about the seduction. And people call it molestation, but there is a big seducing that goes on, and the pattern of that seducing.
But again, if Oprah really wanted to expose this so-called pattern, then why didn't she do a special on Harvey Weinstein's pattern? Even some celebrities called out Oprah for protecting her predator friends, including Rose McGowan, who wrote this: "I'm glad more is seeing the ugly truth of Oprah. I wish she were real, but she isn't. From being pals with Weinstein to abandoning and destroying Russell Simmons' victims, she is about supporting a sick power structure for personal gain. She is as fake as they come. #lizard. And then singer Seal shared this photo of Oprah with Weinstein with a message: "When you've been part of the problem for decades, but suddenly they all think you were the solution." But the more Oprah tried to act like she had nothing to do with Weinstein, the more shady stuff started coming out. At one point, TMZ reported that Oprah was actually one of the first people to call Weinstein after the accusations hit the news. And she wasn't calling to cut ties. She was calling to offer support. TMZ said that back in 2017, when everything first broke, Oprah personally told Weinstein he needed to speak out and defend himself, and that if he did, she'd have his back. A source close to Weinstein at the time told TMZ that Weinstein repeatedly told his team and friends that Oprah called him and said he needed to speak out and defend himself, and when he did, she would be right there supporting him. The source also shared that a number of powerful people called to voice support, but Weinstein singled out Oprah over and over. Of course, Oprah's team quickly tried to shut it down, telling TMZ it wasn't her who reached out, but supposedly someone from Weinstein's team called her first. But Oprah couldn't really pretend she wasn't close to Weinstein. They knew each other for 2 decades, and before all his crimes came to light, she had no issue being seen with him in public. They were spotted together at tons of events hosted by the Weinstein Company, and Oprah was always hyping up his success. She even worked on several movies that his company helped put out, like The Butler and The Great Debaters. And in return, Weinstein constantly praised her in interviews.
I know the gal's, her great friend, but and it's my movie, Lee Daniels, The Butler, but the fact that Oprah didn't get a Golden Globe nomination is shocking.
But once all the dirt on Weinstein came out, Oprah suddenly started acting like they weren't that close and claimed she had no clue about what he was doing. Then, during a 2018 episode of Gwyneth Paltrow's podcast, Oprah finally admitted she and Weinstein were friendly. However, she insisted she didn't know anything about the stuff happening behind closed doors.
I had people online saying, oh, you knew, I knew about Harvey, I should have known. Well, first of all, I wasn't in this world. I was in Chicago in my own little world. Was I friendly with Harvey? Yes, I was friendly with Harvey. Was I, in association with him for, the Butler movie that we had done? Yes, I was. But of course, I didn't know any of this was going on.
But that's not all. Oprah also tried to flip the script and said she was the one Weinstein made.
Harvey was a and that if Harvey's on the phone, you don't want to take the call because you're going to get in some way. For me, it just meant pushing for some people to be on the show that I didn't want to, and I've already done it, and how many more times do I need to do it? So that's all I knew about Harvey. And was I friendly with Harvey? Yes, I was friendly with Harvey. But of course, I didn't know any of this was going on.
But let's be real. If Weinstein really Oprah like she claims, why did she stay close with him for 2 whole decades? I mean, would you be posing with your like this? So knowing all this, it's no surprise the Jackson family has no time for Oprah. After platforming Michael's accusers, ignoring all the sketchy holes in their stories, and acting like she had no clue what her powerful friends were up to, it's easy to see why they feel like Oprah betrayed Michael. But let's hear your thoughts on all this. Do you believe Oprah had an agenda with leaving Neverland? Was she trying to shift the spotlight away from her own circle? Drop your comments below. And don't miss this next video.